Hi everyone. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Birds of Thane and Raigad District webinar series. I hope you all had a wonderful week. Uh, I hope you all good for this session. Now, henceforth onwards, just a minute, please. Sorry for the interruption. Before I'm sure many of you are very well familiar the way how we do it. So before I start with before I introduce our speaker, allow me to introduce to you what Birds of Thane and Raigad District is all about. So Birds of Thane and Raigad District, as many of you by now know it very well, was formed by me and Kiran Kadam on 30th of May 2011. It's a Facebook group, and where we started this all the new bird watchers, anyone who is new to birding, to help them in any possible way. We are an e-platform where one can get information and updates about the various bird and birding related activities across the four major districts of Mumbai, Thane, Raigad, and Palghar. Our key activities have been involved hosting various bird watching related activities like the birding trails, and also as and when time allows us to host presentations at the educational institutes. We try and ensure that we host one free trail every month all around the year. Now we are just waiting for the corona thing to get. All are excited to go out in the field. Today we are about a family of 6,000 plus members and have conducted over 200 plus nature trails. We have also got an opportunity to reach out to maximum students via the Billy Bird Race. So we had an opportunity to host four Billy Bird Race, and we have all possible experts when it comes to guiding us on the platform. And we are one platform for doing it. For the next few slides, you will just get a glimpse of what we do. So these are some of the memories of our bird watching trails across the various parts of the Mumbai region. You can see how we all enjoy being out in the field. Now, in case by now, if you're not a member of Birds of Thane and Raigad District of the Facebook group, and then you should be good enough to go ahead with it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Aditya, you can just share your screen. I will introduce you and then I'll hand it over to you. Now, so over the past few weeks, we have conducted various webinars which were based on identification, which were specifically based on a species, which were based on birding into Northeast, birding into Goa, and similar activities. Uh, Today's session, if you look at it, today's topic of discussion, if you look at it, it is quite unique. It's basically the wildlife trafficking, and this particular topic, I personally very important thing for every common being who is actually nature enthusiast. It's important for every general public to be aware about what exactly does a wildlife trafficking mean. Because wildlife trafficking starts all the way from dealing in tiger skin to all the way picking up a leaf from a forest also. So that's what wildlife trade is all about. And it's more of a time that we don't realize what we are doing is also a part of the wildlife trade only, and it's a wrong activity. So hence, I had a thought about it, and I said, might as well do a session on wildlife trade. And who else is better? Nobody else than Aditya Patil. So hi Aditya, welcome on board. Welcome to. Thank you for agreeing to be on the session. We are now for participants who don't know Aditya. So Aditya and I met in 2010. I still remember he was so passionate about snakes and animals as a young enthusiast. As a by education background, he's an engineer. He's a mechanical engineer, and he started this NGO called as the Wildlife Welfare Association in 2013. He when he was young, he had this thing that whenever he could come across, he was so passionate about animal welfare that wherever he could see any housing or a balcony, wherever he could see any bird that was caged and all, he would just walk over there and release those birds. Later on, as he grew up, he realized that that is actually wrong, and then wildlife welfare, it was always within Aditya, and that's what actually made it passionate. And it's been what, more than 6 years now. Sorry, more than 6+ years now, and he has rescued more than around 7,000 plus animals. You know that included leopards, crocodiles, snakes, birds, you name it. And Aditya and his organization has done this wonderful work. So, Wildlife Welfare Association was founded by him and his colleague Aniket Kadam in 2013. His NGO is based out of Thane, but then his work has traveled across India. During the recent Kerala flood, he and his team was helping the forest department over there in terms of any rescue to any wildlife seizures, any wildlife illegal wildlife trade activities happening across Mumbai region. He has been an active person for that. So thank you, Aditya, for being such a wonderful person and for always inspiring us with the work that you have been doing. I hand it over to you to take it ahead and to continue the session. Yeah. Before Aditya starts, just a small request to all the participants. We will take the questions at the end of the session. So if you have any of it, you can just mention those in the chat at the end of the session. And try and ensure that during the entire session, your microphone and videos are turned off. Aditya, over to you. Aditya?
हॅलो.
Hi, Aditya. Yes, I can hear
हा
you.
हा येतोय आवाज ऐकू?
हो, ऐकायला येतोय. हो.
ओके ओके. So basically today we are going to look into the world of the illegal wildlife trade that is happening around us. So it will be a basic session because wildlife trafficking is a very big subject and there are n number of species involved. You name it, and that species is being dealt for various purposes. So we will look into the how exactly this trade works and what are. Let me start. So, first question is what is illegal wildlife trade? So, any trade which is in contravention of the national and international laws, it is called as illegal wildlife trade. So, there is another term. प्रथमेश म्यूट करतो का?
Don't worry.
मायक्रोफोन ऑन आहे कोणाचा तरी.
Actually,
हे केलं वाटतं. So, they country or international community. So shark or whales which are hunted as a food, it is regulated by certain countries. So it is a legal part of the wildlife trade. But it is very small. Illegal wildlife trade is very huge. So we will see. So this is the volume of the trade, as you can see. So it is a $15 billion industry, US dollar industry per year. So it is very huge, and it is third highest after the drug and arms and ammunition trade. But if you look carefully into it, so when you purchase a bird or when you purchase any wildlife product, so you are actually sponsoring a bullet, or you are sponsoring a gun to that particular man. So we have that's why we have to stop this trade. So we will look into the laws in India which are there to protect the wildlife. So first major law is Wildlife Protection Act 1972. It defines the endemic species. It has four schedules like Schedule 1 to 4 and then Schedule 6, trees, insects, you name it, every species found in India. So it is the major law which governs the which protects the wildlife in our country. Then there is Indian Forest Act. It is generally for the trees or what we can say for the reserve area. Then there is a CITES Convention of 1976. In CITES Convention, there are three appendix. So it is regulated by all the. It is a body constituting of the all the countries in the world, and they regulate the trade in the wildlife. Then or export any wildlife or any other product. So you have to comply with this law. And then there is a custom act. So these five laws are there in India to protect the wildlife. So any crime happening, you can book the accuser criminal under these laws. So let me show you the. This is the Section 9 of Wildlife Protection of Act 1972. So most of the people think that in hunting, if you read this carefully, so our law is very strict and very broad in case of hunting. So any capturing, coursing, snaring, trapping, driving, or baiting any wild or captive animal, and every attempt to do so. So it is very broad in this sense. So if you are trying to what you can say uh, feed the animal, it can be if you are feeding the monkey, it can be counted as a betting wild animal, and you may be booked under the Wildlife Protection Act, and it will be termed as the goes into further detail like injuring or destroying or taking any part of the body of any such animal, or in the case of wild birds or reptile, damaging the eggs of such bird or reptile, or disturbing eggs or nest of birds or reptile. So you may have heard about photographers disturbing the nest to get the clear shot, or in that process some eggs may get damaged, or nest may fall on the ground. So even that will be termed as the hunting. So our the world, but problem arises in the implementation. So we are not officers are not very don't have in-depth knowledge of this law and how to deal with this law. There is also one section in Wildlife Protection Act, which is section 56. In that section, if you have, if forest officer or any officer authorized by this act suspect that you have a wild animal, you are in custody of the wild animal, he is to prove the contrary, like you don't have anything. The that onus of proving is on you. The burden is on you. So we have very strict law, but problem is when we go for the implementation of these laws. So now we will look major hotspot. So how this trade works. So you may see in the map. So all the trade is either to the seaports or where there are ports, or towards the international boundary. So we have a very porous boundary with Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, animal product or most of the wildlife trade happens through this area. If you look at there in Kolkata, so most of the turtle meat that is smuggled from UP, Bihar is brought to the Kolkata via trucks or other transportation. They are gathered in Kolkata, and from their port, it is sent into the Bangladesh or Myanmar. So this is how trade works. Uh, Animal may be caught in any of the area in India, but majorly you see it is near to the seaports, or it is near the international border. प्रथमेश फ्रेम फ्रीज झाली वाटतं.
होईल मला वाटतं बिकॉज इंटरनेटचं थोडं कनेक्टिव्हिटी असेल ना. इट शुड मूव्ह ऑन.
Okay, it's not moving on.
You can stop screen sharing again and try sharing it again. That is also fine.
Okay. Right. Give me 1 minute. Huh?
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Take it.
Okay. So, yeah. So, we will look into the reason behind this trade. So, what motivates this trade? So, basically, the main factor is economic. So, all this trade is because of the money factor involved in it. This is the primary reason why this trade is happening. But there are other reasons like food or meat, we can say. Then there is a pet trade, which is the most common thing. Then there is religious and superstition, or we can say a cultural aspect behind the wildlife trade. Then there is medicine and healthcare industry, which is using for making medicine or curing some diseases. Then there is sports or trophy hunting. Fortunately, in India, we don't have this kind of trophy hunting legally, but in African countries, they are allowing you pay certain money, like it is a very huge amount of money, and you can hunt the animals there. They will provide you with the guide, weapon, and everything, and you can take that animal trophy with you in your home country. Then there is ornamental trade like ivory or artifacts made from the rhino horns or elephant horn. Then there are art and handicrafts like mungus hair brushes made for the art. Then there are the trees which are protected under the law. Then there is a fashion industry. It is one of the upcoming industry which is exploiting the wild animals. Then there is fuel and fodder. The tribals or people living near forest fringes, they may enter into the protected area and cut the trees or other wood for their fuel and fodder. And last one is private or scientific collection. Most of the time, you may be seen the bottled specimen in your college or in your school. So most of them are collected directly from the wild without any permission. The regulating this trade and how to send this sample for the study purpose. And there is a scientific collection like uh, researcher collecting specimen with going into the reserve area and without the permission of the chief wildlife warden of the state. So we will look into it one by one in detail. So, food. Basically, these are the delicacies. Like there are some reason like turtle meat is eaten or turtle blood is consumed because of people believe that it may give them a long life because turtle lives for a long turtles by drinking the blood of the turtle or eating its flesh we can actually get a longer life, and that's why this trade is happening. So this photo is from Kolkata only. So look at the number, uh, how many number, like there were two trucks is in Kolkata, and they sees almost 7,000 turtle. Like when we go for photography or when we go into the reserve forest, we see that it is very hard to spot even one turtle, and they are collecting all the turtles from the. These are mostly from the Ganga Delta. So most of the species are endangered also, like black softshell turtle. So these are the endangered species, and their number is declining this due to this trade. The image on the right side is of the Amur falcons. This is from the Nagaland. So you may most of you know Nagaland has very huge population of like Amur falcon visit Doyang River in the Nagaland. So these local people are selling this, catching the Amur falcon and selling its meat. So it is most of the time they are selling for some sort of the money. Like they are selling at a very low price, but the middleman and the other people, they are exploiting this. So this is the deer meat, you can say. Then there is this is the monitor lizard meat. So as a human, we are a very superior species, and we can't like I can't tell which species people will prefer to eat. There are many delicacies, like there are wild boars, there are rabbits, then deer, monitor lizard. Name any animal, and people are killing it for the meat. Then this is the edible swift nest. So this is protected under the Schedule 1. Like it carries the same protection as the tiger and leopards in Wildlife Protection Act. But these nests are destroyed to make this soup. Their population is going down year by year. Now in Singapore and Thailand, they are making the commercial farming of this edible swift nest, and then they are exporting it to the other countries. So this is the one of the most poached mammal in the world. Most of you may guess it right. It is a pangolin, but there are various species of pangolin. But in India, we have two species like Indian pangolin and one is Chinese pangolin, which can be seen in the northeast. So this is the most trafficked animal in the world. Then we will move on to the next reason behind the pet. This is the pet trade. So this industry is growing day by day in India, and most of the time, profit margin is very huge because in nature, if you are collecting directly from the nature, you are getting it for the free. Even if you get 10 rupees, so 10 rupees is your profit. That is net profit you are earning from this trade. So they don't care about if the animal lives or dies. So you can see on the time it reaches Crawford Market from south or from the Andhra Pradesh, most of if there are 300 parrots, only 100 or 150 will survive, other will die. But they don't care because they are getting very huge margin behind this trade. Then these are the star tortoise, one of the most common pet in India. So we see this from the Navi Mumbai and Lokmanya Tilak terminus in Kurla. So one woman was carrying almost 700 star tortoise. She was coming from the Andhra Pradesh. So there are fixed route, and these are all the tribal people or people who are living close to the nature, and someone is misleading them for small money. So most of the time, even if you give them 100 rupees, like when we were at Rajmachi for photography, so one person caught Indian giant squirrel or shekru we at call in Marathi. So he wanted what can 60 or 70 rupees for the liquor bottle, and we paid him 100 rupees, and he handed over shekru, that Indian giant squirrel, to us. So this is how this trade is happening. Like the people on the ground, they are misled. They are not much aware of the law, but those who are selling, as the profit margin is very huge, they are engaging in this practice. So this is one poster. So what we decided to do in Thane, we collaborated with the Thane Forest Department. We took their permission and we circulated this. These are the most common species you can find in the pet trade. So we circulated this uh, poster along with the housing societies and then to the pet shop owner. And forest department told them to compulsorily be visible. So, and if you don't stick it, we will fine you. So that way, we are making pet shop owner and also customer aware. If we reduce the demand, this trade will stop. Right now, there is huge demand. Like we have tried raiding Crawford market for I think 20 or 30 times, like all the organization in Mumbai. But the trade is continue. Even if you go now, you will find at least one parrot, one turtle, or something you will find which is illegal to sell. So I will share this poster in our group. And also, if you want to use it for your organization, you have to put your logo. Just then this is the religious or superstition angle behind the trade, or we can say a cultural aspect. So, as you know, these are the Indian eagle owls. So they are sacrificed for the two reasons. So one, you know that it is the vehicle of the goddess Lakshmi. So people sacrifice this and they think that it will rain money. And other reason is some people consider owl as a bad omen, and what they do, they just cut their head or just they chop their legs and they throw this owl to their opponent or enemy's house. So trade is very rampant in Karnataka. So during the election season, whenever there is election season in Karnataka, you may find this in great demand, and it fetches money in almost 6 to 7 digits. So they are caught from the wild most of the time, or otherwise they are caught as a chicks and then raised. And all these animals, their selling price is decided based on their weight. So you may find they feed it the metal piece, or they may feed some unnatural diet so to increase their weight. Then on the right side, it is red sand boa. In Marathi, it is called Dutondia, or in English, it is called as a double engine. That is its market name. So what happens? People believe that it walks from one head for 6 months and one head for other 6 months, and its head and tail looks very similar. It is for its defense mechanism. So they are also sold for the according to their weight. You may have read in the newspaper that red sand boa smuggler caught selling the snake for 1 crore, 2 crore, 25 crore, any price you name it, because nature doesn't have and they sell whatever they want. And now what people are doing now, they know it can't go beyond 3 or 4 kg. So what people are doing now, uh, people are catching python from the wild, and they are painting it with the black color or brown color and chopping its tail to look like head and drawing eyes on its tail. So it may fetch a greater price. So here it is a hatta jodi. It is the male genital organs of the monitor lizard. So because we cannot differentiate between male and female of the monitor lizard by just looking at it. So monitor lizard is killed for the it is called hatta jodi in and you may find it in the places where they sell the dhoop agarbatti or the religious material that is required at our home, so you may find it there. A monitor lizard is also a Schedule 1 animal, and uh, it is also in demand for the meat. So this most of the online portal like Amazon, Flipkart, and most of the e-marketing site, they were selling this. So and there was no algorithm to filter this on their website. So Wildlife Trust of India and WCCB, they carried a Operation Thunderstorm, and they raided the wholesaler or the suppliers of this Hatta Jodi. And now you won't be able to find it on any online site. This is the sea fan. It is also used for the puja or the religious purposes. It is also protected in the Wildlife Protection Act. Then this is the cultural aspect. So most of the Northeast, they in the Nagaland for Naga festival, you can see here. So in the Northeast, it is part of their culture. But right now, Sanctuary Asia and some other local organization, what they did, they provided them this cask made from the plastic and urged them not to kill the hornbill as their population was declining. So this is one way to deal with the wildlife trade. You provide them the alternative, and they will stop hunting the species. This is how this is how it should be the approach. But first, you should provide them the solution, terms and practices. They won't ever stop to kill the animal. Then medicine and healthcare industry. So most of the people are using like for curing some sexual diseases or to increase their sexual power. So this dried seahorse, it is also a protected species, marine species. Then these are the spiny tail lizard found in the run of the Kutch or the in the desert. It is found. So the oil extracted from this lizard is used for to increase your sexual power. Like it is not medically proven, but it is a belief. So they are hunted from their burrows and they are traded. Most of the Chinese countries. So it is used in the soup, what we can say, for the medical purposes, and they believe that it will increase your immunity and it will make you immortal. So uh, pangolins are traded for that; they are killed for their scales. Then this is the beer bile. So this is found in the stomach of the bear, and in China, people believe that it will cure the cancer or some other deadly diseases. For that, they are killing the bear. Plus, they are operating the tap and they are removing the bile from their pancreas. So in medicine and healthcare industry is very huge. So you may have heard about the snake venom or scorpion venom used for the drug making drugs or for using for intoxication. So this is very big industry, and most of the time tribal or people who are close to the nature are providing this material to the middleman. Again, this is like most of our what we to export to the Chinese country or Southeast Asian country because they have very silly beliefs and they They are ready to pay huge amount of money for all this trade. So these are the tiger bones. Again, these are used for making medicine in China. So as I said, sport and trophy hunting. So this is very common in African countries because most of them have low income. So they have legalized the hunting. They have private farms or private reserve where they are breeding the every you have to pay the money. Like for the deer or antlers, it may cost the less money, but for killing elephant or some big animal, you have to shell very huge amount of money. So this and also you can after killing, you can take the trophy with you at to your home. So this is we have to stop. You can see in India also you must have come across this kind of trophies in bungalows or some 1972 people had these things, so now they have to inform the chief wildlife warden of the state what they have or to whom they are transferring these trophies. Otherwise it is illegal if they cannot produce the certificate of the ownership before the 1972 era. They will be confiscated and people will be booked for the hunting. So this is from the John F. Kennedy Airport in USA. So look at like this is from 1 year only. So imagine how much uh, trade is happening, and if there are 10 smuggling happening per day, so we are able to crack 7 are going unnoticed. So this is the ornamental. So this image may be graphic, like you may come across many graphic images in this PowerPoint presentation, but we have to face the reality. How brutally, like this is the elephant they have killed to make this artifact, like to what we can say cut the ivory, and this is how they are making the money. These artifacts are very rare and they fetch like very huge amount of money in international market. So that's why elephant are killed and then their ivory tusk are removed and then they are sold to the artisans to carve and then final product is sold at the international market level. And this is the rhino's horn artifact made from the rhino's horn. So now what African countries is doing, so they are painting the rhino's horn. So poachers won't use because it won't be possible to use that horn to make the artifacts. So that's why they are painting the horn of the rhino. Otherwise, they are just dehorning the rhino. They are just cutting horn of the rhino and letting it roam freely. And again, these are the ornamental like leopard skin or tiger skin, deer skin, any skin for the most what we can say the religious saints or sadhu or babas, you may find tiger skin where they sit or leopard skin where they sit. Right now it is very low, but most of the them use tiger or leopard skin. And as I said, all these things are interconnected. Like deer is killed for its meat, but then its skin will be removed and skin will be sold separately. So all these things are interconnected and overlapping. So art, this is the Indian grey mongoose, and these are the brushes made from the Indian grey hair mongoose. So for making what we can say for obtaining 1 kg of hair, almost 55 to 60 mongoose are every mungus hair will be useful to make these brushes. They have to pass certain quality. So some mungus will be killed unnecessary. So we have many option available in the market. Like there are synthetic brushes available, or pony hair brushes, or camel hair brushes available in market. But still, people want to use these brushes. Last year in October, we carried out Operation Clean Art all over the India. I was handling the Maharashtra state, and we seized 30,000 brushes from the Maharashtra, which were sold to various famous art colleges and student, and also student were not. And now we are visiting the colleges and making them aware. Uh, Art is to make someone happy, and not, you shouldn't have blood of the animal on your hand while making the art. Again, this is the fashion industry. So this is the purse made from the crocodile skin. This is the again purse made from the monitor lizard skin. Then these are the boots made from the reticulated python skin. This is the leather jacket. These are the what we can say pelts of the fox, and this is how they are killed for to obtaining the fur. So can print any pattern we want on the surface. Still, this is in huge demand, and most of the celebrities or fashion designer, they are promoting this kind of cruelty. Then again, private and scientific collection. So you must have come across this bottle specimen in your school, colleges, university, or for the research purpose. But not everyone is licensed to provide this. Most of this is illegal. People are just capturing the snakes or other animals and killing it, and preserving them in the formaldehyde and selling it at the higher price. Have to regulate this trade. In 2006, there was almost 5 to 10,000 specimens seized in the Uttar Pradesh by the Uttar Pradesh Forest Department. And again, these are the insect collected. So you cannot collect anything from the reserve area, like reserve forest, sanctuary, national park, whatever it is protected by the law. You cannot collect anything from that area. Most of the students which are studying the entomology, they are collecting the insect without the proper permission, legal permission. So we have to look into this. Also, there are some researchers which are not following the specimens from the wild. Also, in the last couple of years, snake rescuer or animal rescuer, they are selling all these things to the pet shop owners or to the other researchers. So we have to stop, and we have to raise voice against all these people who are doing it wrong. So now we will look at some of methods which are used for the poaching in India. So firearms is one of the common method, but it won't be used when the skin you want is precious. Like for when you want tiger skin or leopard skin, you won't use a firearm because it will make a bullet use when it is necessary for they want to kill for the meat or something like that. And most of the time it is used for the big mammals like tiger, leopard, elephant, deer, black bucks. Then these are the leg traps, or this is the Katni trap. Katni is a village in Madhya Pradesh. So this trap is so brutal. How much animal will try, they won't be able to escape it. Even when we have to remove the dead body from the trap, it requires a huge manpower to um, separate, open the that the people, if they decide to patent this trap, they will fetch huge amount of money. Like they have so good mechanism, and surely they are going to catch the animal with this kind of leg traps. So these leg traps are usually laid on the paths frequently visited by the animal, or otherwise near the water bodies where animals use come for the drinking water. So, and most of the time, non-targeted species are killed due to these select traps. So these traps are used for trapping wild boar in the farmland, but leopard may get trapped like in cases where leopard were trapped in these kind of leg traps. Then this is the wire snare. These are very brutal, and it are used for the small.
Aditya? Hello?
Ha, Prathamesh.
Yeah. No, nothing.
Okay, okay,
Done, done.
okay. So another method is electrocution. So what people do, they lay the electric wire around their farmland, and for you may nilgai or wild boars, deers, they are threat to the crop. So farmers, what they do, they just raise the wired fencing around their farmland, and produce the current, direct current, and it is very high voltage current. So animals which touch these wires, they will die instantly. Then this is the poisoning. So the poisoning is mostly not mostly for like it is mostly for the revenge. Like if leopards or tiger kills the cattle, what farmer will do? He will poison the carcass of the that cattle, and when leopard or tiger will eat that, eventually it will die. But uh, they also feed on the carcass, and in this case, the vultures also died. So this is also one of the brutal method. Then the netting is used for trapping various kind of bird. This is from the Nagaland where Amur falcons. You can see Amur falcons are trapped in the net. Then these are the bird trapping method. They use bamboo and latex. So at one end of the bamboo, get sticks to the bamboo. Due to then again they use mice or any other uh, rodent as a bait to attract the bird. They play the recorded calls. Then there is a wired mesh, and sometimes they directly remove the chicks from the nest. So most of the time, November to January is the breeding season for the Alexandrian and Rosering parakeet. So they know where these nests are. So they directly climb up the tree, remove the birds, and then sell them at the market. Again, this is the bamboo trap. These Pardi people are because they are the traditional hunting community. So they have various methods. But now to educate them and providing them the alternate source of the livelihood. And most of them are being trained as a guides in the national park, so they will have other income. They are doing it because they don't have money. They cannot feed their family, and they are not well educated. So they are doing this hunting and all other practices. So now we are going to talk about the exotic animal trade, which is happening in the India. So exotic animal trade, uh, these animals are not covered or protected under any protected under the international regulation. The this exotic animal, they are the threat to our endemic species, and also they can carry the diseases from their country of the origin to the India. So till last month we didn't had any legislation, but right now environment ministry had issued the guideline. I will talk I will talk about it in the next slide. So these are the ball pythons, sugar gliders, then pocket monkey, iguanas, you name it, all the budgies, African grey parrot, macaws, all these are the exotic species and people are now breeding it in the India. And what happens when up of the these exotic species, they may tend to release these animals into the protected area like national park. So uh, rescued many. We have rescued many. We have rescued many ball pythons from the Bhandup or Sanjay Gandhi National Park, and also, you may have heard about the red ear slider, which is the most common turtle traded in India. So it is harming our native biodiversity because it is very aggressive. So these are the guidelines issued last month. So Environment Ministry has said that those who are in possession of the exotic species, they should declare their possession, what they burden of the state. So this is very welcome state. After the 6 month period, they are going to bring the legislation to ban or regulate this trade. So now we are coming to the challenges in curbing this trade. So right now, what is happening? All this trade is going online. Like criminals are very techno savvy. They are using e-market site, then WhatsApp, social media to uh, advertise about their selling. So forest department or other agency, they are not well. Then low conviction rate because because there is no proper investigation. Agencies are not that much interested unless there is a huge amount involved in the trade. Agencies are not that much interested. That's why only 3 to 4% of the cases accused is convicted. Otherwise, it will be out on the bail or court will acquit it. Then there is no interdepartmental coordination. So at the border, all our armed forces are guarding it. Then in the interior, there is police, there is enforcement directorate, then there is forest department. There are various agencies, but they are not coordinating uh, what we can say precisely with everyone. Then lack of scientific investigation. Now, most of the investigation officer, they don't know how to collect the evidence from the crime spot. What will be counted as the evidence? And then porous international border. So we should patrol this border or guard this border with more manpower. That's way we can stop all kind of trade, not only pet trade. Then capacity building of the forest department is there because they can't even identify the big area we have to work, and here you can play a big role like every common man, because I or any other investigation agency, they cannot be everywhere. So you have to be vigilant whenever you visit the national park or whenever you visit any pet shop, you have to be vigilant. You have to keep asking them question, though indirectly, but you have to try to dig the information from them, and you have to be a good observer. That's when we can gather the intelligence, and we can what we can say counter this illegal wildlife trade. So now I will tell you about our work to clean art that I was talking about earlier. So in October month, we raided the stationery shop and the factories which were selling these Mungus hair brushes. So we managed to seize the 29,000 Mungus hair brush, and we arrested almost 15 criminals in this case. So I will explain you this as a case study, how to approach any or how to gather the intelligence. So before conducting this operation, 6 months prior to this, we started contacting the art student. We started gathering data from them. From them, we came to know uh, shops which were selling these brushes, and then we went as a decoys in this shop. We what we use our mobile phone cameras to record everything. We asked them from for the sample. We collected samples. We those who offered us bill, we took the bills from them, and then we sent these brushes for the forensic report. And after the forensic report came, we had a meeting with WCCB team, and then we planned this operation Pan India. So on the 24 October, that we had on our list was rated at the same time. So information will not go out, and other people will not get alert. So you have to work in this way. You don't directly what we can confront the seller, or you may put your life in danger. So these are the start autos we managed to seize from the Mumbai. Then what I said, snake rescuer or animal rescuer, they are also involved in wildlife trade to Maharashtra just for the photography. Like that person was charging anything between 500 to 5,000 for clicking the photos of the king cobra. And this is one of the our success story where we managed to recover this king cobra. We did it medical examination, and we sent the king cobra back to the Odisha from where it was caught, and it was released in its the natural habitat.
Wow.
Then this is uh, uh, crocodiles. So this was the first case in Maharashtra, or I can say India, where crocodiles hatchlings were being from the Nashik, and we seized 8 crocodile with the help of crime branch. You can see here Commissioner of Nashik, Ravindra Singhal. This is me and this is Aniket. So this was a very high profile case, and there was a lot of pressure to not file case, but he stood firmly behind us, and we filed case against those person. Then again, these are the roof turtle. These are caught from the Crawford market, and this species. Right now, along with the rescue organization in Pune, we are trying to rehabilitate this turtle and release them in their natural habitat. Like seizing is on operation doesn't end when you seize the animals. You have to look after them. You have to rehabilitate that animal to their natural habitat. So this is from Mupra, where pet shop was selling almost 80 to 90 birds. You can see purple moorhen, there was Rudy Shelduck, then there was Plummeted Parakeet. Things. And this one from the Chinspokli where guy was selling online three barn owls and cobra. Like it's not good to disclose the price, but sometimes reporter does this. Like there was advisory in 2012 where they said journalist, forest department, or any other agency they shouldn't disclose the price. Otherwise, it will attract the other person into the trade. So this is one of the memorable raid. This raid like this raid taught me a or to pursue the criminal. So these are the four Indian eagle owl that we see in the Nippani Belgaum district, Karnataka. These were prior to the Karnataka election, and this was our first out of the state raid. We were completely into the new territory. Language was the problem there, and plus, like there was a lot of chase. There was threat to our life. Criminals accused tried to attack our vehicle. They were following us. So from that raid, I learned a lot of things. I learned what to do, what not to do. But it is not possible without a good team and good support from the government agency. Like it is not a one man. I'm acting as a decoy. Like I have conducted 23 raids till the date, but this is not like what we can say one man job. Teamwork is must. Like you must be in touch with your team, and you should analyze the situation and take the. Though you may have the government backup, but when you meet the accused or when you enter certain territory, there you are on your own, so you have to think where we should call off the raid or where should we go forward. So I want to thank you all of you for listening to me, and I want to thank you Prathamesh for giving me this opportunity mic and ask me, or otherwise you can put the question in chat box. Thank you.
Thanks,